Mortgage rates are so important because essentially that affects the affordability. There are two things that affect affordability of a home, of course, and that is the price and the interest rate. So you could afford to pay a much higher price when interest rates are really historically low.
Rockstar Nation, thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to stay to the end, where our guests will be offering a free gift. As you know, all of our guests offer a free gift, and all of these gifts can be found on the Agent Success Toolbox. You could find that by going to hibandigital.com/toolbox or simply texting the word toolbox to 444-999. That's toolbox to 444-999. I am going to put today's free gift in today's show notes, but if you want all of them, including gifts from most of our guests that have come on the show, just go to the Agent Success Toolbox.
So the big question is this: how do most agents who don't have access to the secrets that the top agents in our industry hoard to themselves grow and prosper in today's real estate environment? That's the question. And this video podcast is the answer. I'm Pat Hyben, and welcome to Real Estate Rockstars.
Do the math. It's worth every single dollar. That's a title of a comment that I got on my certified listing agent course from Rebus University. It's from Bill Reeg. This is what Bill says. Bill says, looking to take your listing presentation to the next level? I've closed 100 appointments since I took Pat's certified listing agent course. 5 appointments, 5 new clients, 60 days. Boom, do the math. It's worth every single dollar. Thanks, Bill. But listen, guys, I am offering this to you if you haven't already taken it, because so many brokers and teams make their agents take it before they do a single listing appointment. But if you haven't taken it, you can go to rebusuniversity.com and get it now. Now, here's the thing. For 30 days, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you that course. I'm going to give you the buyer agent course, which teaches you how to close every single serious buyer that calls on the phone or emails. This certified team agent course is taught by Jeff Cohn, one of America's top agents, on how to build a team from zero to hero to hundreds and hundreds of units every year, step by step. It's like a 12-hour course, plus 7 other courses. Yes, you heard that right. All for a measly $127 a month. If you were to go to Rebus University and buy these courses individually, it costs you over $10,000. But today, if you go to futureofrealestatetraining.com, that's futureofrealestatetraining.com, you'll learn what Bill Reeg did, which is how to close 100% of the listing appointments you go on. Quite impressive. And you'll learn all the other incredible details provided in the 11 5-star courses that are offered. Yeah, it's like all you can eat bazaar. You go in now and you pay $127 a month. If you can eat all 11 courses in 1 month, that's all you pay is $197. This is a bargain, guys. Get it now. Futureofrealestatetraining.com.
Welcome back, Real Estate Rockstars. Excited to come back to you this week for another State of the Market. This is Aaron Amuchastegui, and today I'm on here with my good friend, Paul Morris. Paul has been doing a lot of interviews lately. You guys have probably heard him on a few of the great ones that we had come out. Paul, tell us, before we jump into the news, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, I'm so excited to be working with you on Real Estate Rockstars. What a phenomenal venue to bring in some of the top talent and talk to this amazing community. I own a real estate brokerage. We have 3,000 realtors that did 10,000 transactions and almost $9 billion in volume last year. So I run that as a CEO of that, and then also do some real estate investing, have 600 apartment units. So I come at it with that background, definitely an entrepreneur, but have a lot of brokerage experience.
That's freaking cool. And where do you live?
I live in Santa Monica, Los Angeles.
Out in Santa Monica. That is one of those craziest things. Obviously, a real estate rock star. When he's talking about quantity and transactions, that's pretty crazy. But then when you go 9 billion in transactions, that billion with a B, that jumps out as somebody that knows a thing or two about real estate.
Yes, thank you.
And all those agents. Well, as we jump into the news, there's a bunch of fun stuff that we get to talk about today. One of the very first ones that we looked at, was mortgage rates fall further. This is from CNBC markets, and it says mortgage rates fall further as buyers rush into the first open houses of 2020. My wife and I were out looking at open houses this last weekend too. So we were out there that first week of 2020. It says the reason that rates are going down, or maybe one of the key points, buyer sentiment in the housing market remained high in December, according to a monthly survey from Fannie Mae. Average rate on the 30-year fixed mortgage fell to the lowest level since October this week at 3.69%. Mm-hmm. Prices nationally rose 3.7% in November, according to CoreLogic. So, Paul, what do you think about that? What do you think about mortgage rates? What's really going on out there?
Okay, so first of all, mortgage rates are so important because essentially that affects the affordability. There are two things that affect affordability of a home, of course, and that is the price and the interest rate. So you could afford to pay a much higher price when interest rates are really historically low. So my information about rates are basically to the minute. So it's a big part of my business. I know what the rates are today, what they were yesterday, and that article was sort of end of the year. Interest rates have remained pretty stable. So we're quoting sort of high threes, low fours. Very low historically. Now, I'll tell you, when we were looking at really scary news from Iran and Iraq, you could have locked in at 3.5, which is like crazy deal, but that would have been like catching lightning in a bottle because it was like a 24, 36-hour period, and then they bump right back up to where they are now. So high threes, low fours.
Gee, that's so great. So bad news, all of a sudden, right after the bad news, they're like, oh, we better drop rates or everyone's going to stop buying houses. Who makes that decision? Who makes it go down to 3.5 for a day?
Banks look at inventory, and they look at how much money they currently have on their books to loan. Obviously, the Fed rate is the driving factor. Now, the Fed rate doesn't change day to day, but risks and demand and everything that changes day to day. That's very sophisticated math that banks are running logarithms on, and their bean counters are doing it. It's above my pay scale.
Yeah, it is. I think it's above all of our pay scale. But you're super right. Mortgage rates are so important because as they go down, your affordability goes up. It usually pushes prices up. If somebody got a pre-qual back in October that said, hey, they can spend $2,000 a month for a house, so as a result, they're going to be able to buy a $250,000 house. Today, they're going to be able to buy a $260,000 house, like for the same payment. Because interest rates go down, now all of a sudden they can pay more. That's why it's so important. So the buyers can now get a more expensive house. Usually sellers are quick and they raise that price just to balance out as we hit there. So as we look at that, so that's that average house. We also have a crazy deal, other news that came out on Forbes. Britain's most expensive home could be selling for a world record $275 million. What's the mortgage look like on one of those? You're going to buy a house for $275 million. You're going to get a mortgage on that?
You're likely to pay cash or almost cash. And I read about that one. If it goes through, well, it's sold, and so it's a private sale. It's hard to get the info on that, but a $275 million sale would make it the most expensive house in the world to ever sell. It was a real estate guy from Hong Kong bought it from the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure how that affects all of us, but it's interesting. People always want to know, hey, how much was the most expensive house in America sold for? The answer to that is, January 2019, there was a penthouse that sold for $238 million. So that was the current most expensive one, and this would take the crown for that.
Yeah, and that was the $238 million was some billionaire hedge fund manager Ken Griffin. So it was Manhattan. Manhattan was $238 million. Now it's $275 million. You see how many bedrooms that thing was? 45 bedroom home.
Wow.
In London.
There you go. You can get lost in that.
That is crazy. And and if you've ever been to London and seen how busy it was, London and Manhattan are two like very similar places. And so I guess it kind of makes sense that they swapped on values.
Very, very dense population for sure. And I do see the top of the market. There's only a few buyers, so people can afford what they want. But on the other hand, I see it. If you need to sell, you've got to soften the price.
Yeah. So as we jump around to some other kind of fun, mortgage rates are awesome. Getting to see what's selling out there. We do not see the $275 million homes happen very often. But jumping to like just some weird news that you and I were laughing about a little bit ago, but I think it probably has some huge implications and maybe what people are thinking all the time. It says Ring, so Ring is I've got a Ring doorbell downstairs. Somebody comes to my house, they ring the doorbell, it pulls up on my phone, I can see them, I can talk to them, I can let them in my house, whatever. So Ring, they also have, home videos, things like that. They fired employees who tried to access customer video data. One of the things I thought was interesting, so they didn't fire an employee, they fired employees. There are multiple people who tried to access customer video data. So Ring, the smart doorbell and home security company acquired by Amazon in 2018, fired several of its employees for attempting to access customer video data. Did you see that? It said after the news of several leaks in which hackers broke into family security cameras, a group of senators also were like, hey, we got to deal with this. What do you think about that? Did you read that? Have you seen more news like that out there?
I have. One of the things that we can laugh about it. I certainly want to laugh about it. You read the fine print on that particular story and the hacker was using the voice aspect of it to harass an 8-year-old girl in someone's house. And that's like, wow, that's what grabs the senator's attention. They're like, hey, we got to do something about this. So
creepy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I personally, I've gotten rid of my security system because, I have 2 dogs. One of them's a pit bull terrier and, but I have Nest and I have the cameras. So I'm like, well, okay, the camera's going to capture everything. I got the dogs barking. They really wouldn't bite anybody, but they got the dogs barking and that's it. And so we're really looking at security, the security of our home. And when we introduce these devices into our home, are we adding convenience? Are we adding security? Or are we really creating a window for people that are far more sophisticated than me, for sure, to come in and, and harass you? I mean, that's scary, man.
Yeah, it's also like phones and social media and things like that, right? It comes to a point where there's some sort of a risk in that, and most of the time you're like, hey, I'm not that important. Nobody's going to care about my stuff, or Facebook can figure out what restaurant I went to, and they're going to know what I want later. So there's a lot of that. It's kind of like to have the luxuries and the technology we live in, we bear some sort of a risk in what people are going to do with that data. I guess it's just a decision. So when you go out there and that, you kind of, for you personally, you go, hey, I'm okay with the decision, or does it make you nervous?
It makes me nervous. I mean, for what little use I ever had of like Google Home Assistant or whatever, I mean, I tried to use it a couple of times and then I just left it plugged in. So it's listening to me the whole time, but providing no usefulness. I unplugged it, eventually gave it away. But the thing is, we carry around with us our phones and I'm afraid right now, if I say, hey, Siri, my phone's going to light up,
Right.
And so it's like, we know that it's listening all the time, because how would it know you said, hey, Siri, if it wasn't listening all the time? And then, we've all had the experience. I joke with my girlfriend all the time about, how much we'll have a conversation that we've never had before. She'll look on her Instagram and she'll get an ad for that item that we were talking about. And she's like, come on, here you go. Because I want to say, they're not listening. It's not listening, and she's like, there you go. There it is. And,
oh yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay. So there's convenience to it. I like your point. That was the defense I always use, is like, oh, really, who cares about me enough to like, really? Okay. Really? But on the other hand, when you start deploying artificial intelligence, that's where you have computers running algorithms and they can measure these things across a whole population. And then they really are listening. So it's going to have to be something that we really are concerned about. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I got to tell you, I'm nervous.
Yeah. And this is one, and then you have the human aspect of it, where it's not just hackers. It's like, no, there's employees at these companies that have access. Oh. And so what are they going to do? My wife is the most nervous. I drive my Tesla and I let that thing drive itself, man. I love being able to just cruise down the highway and just brag to everybody, go, look, it's passing cars on its own now. It's going in. And her big thing is, wait till somebody hacks it. Wait till somebody hacks that data. Like that's where it's there. I'm like, well, hopefully it doesn't happen while I'm driving. But it's one of those things, you get a little nervous about it. I try to block it out. I have home video cameras. I have home security stuff, and hopefully they keep cracking it down. But yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily think the government's going to be the ones that are going to come up with the right system to monitor it either. So hopefully good people in business figure out the way to balance it, and they employees do that stuff.
tribeofmillionaires.com. Guys, write that down. Rockstar Nation got a free special offer for you. Now, I've just written a book, and it's just been published. Co-authored it with David Osborne, who's been on this show multiple times. If you don't know David, he is one of the top execs at Keller Williams Real Estate, was personally mentored for the last 2 decades by Gary Keller himself, and he's in all kinds of businesses. His bio and explanation and everything is in this book. But anyways, David and I got together. We decided to write a book. We called it Tribe of Millionaires. And I guarantee you it's going to change your life. To find out more, just go to tribeofmillionaires.com. We're going to give it to you absolutely free. Only thing we ask in return is, of course, number one, you pay the shipping. Not a big deal. But number two, that you go on Amazon and write us a review. We're really looking to get an incredible amount of reviews. And because of that, we're giving this book away for free. Go to tribeofmillionaires.com today. Hey, real estate agents and rock stars. If you're getting value out of the content in this episode, make sure you like the video and subscribe to this channel. Also, click the little bell icon to be notified about upcoming episodes. And I would also love it if you left a comment and shared the most impactful tips and tactics you've learned from the knowledge shared in this episode, or even maybe make a suggestion requesting a topic of what you'd like to learn in future episodes. I welcome any feedback below. Now, back to the episode.
People that are a little bit smarter than me, or maybe a lot smarter than me, they all have those little things that block their computer camera when they're not using it.
Yeah, dude, as soon as we get done, I should put the blue tape over the top. I don't do that enough either. But you do see that as people go in. Well, so technology is something that's awesome. You know, the world that we live in, we get to see it. We get to have the risks of it. That kind of segues into another thing that we were going to talk about today. You know, from Inman, it says, you know, we've got the EXP CEO on there. And it says, we're just scratching the surface. The EXP CEO on living in a virtual world. And there is so much that's changing, you know, with real estate companies, the virtual experience. What do you know about EXP? What do you know about companies out there that are, you know, talking about the virtual experience? And what does he mean when, you know, what does the article mean? It says, hey, he's talking about the virtual world.
So, you know, and to be fair, EXP is a competitor, and that's fine. I love to look at the great things that competitors are doing. I really, truly believe that they're onto something for sure, in the sense that a lot of things will go virtual, okay? The thing that saves, this is a great piece for realtors, okay? You know, I look at the wide spectrum of, on one end, you have the travel agent that was totally displaced by technology. And on the other end, you have the cancer surgeon not displaced by technology. Okay, so where's the realtor on that continuum? Well, here's the thing. It's, you know, it's not a cancer. We're not cancer surgeons. I get that for sure. And I also think we are not travel agents. And the reason why is it's the single largest purchase for the overwhelming majority of United States citizens. So it's a very personal experience. So real estate is it's a touch game. It's a hand-to-hand combat thing. It's a, you know, you want to touch the person, they want to talk to you, they want a human being to interact with. Now, do people come around and they have all the houses that they want to be shown? Yes, but I still go to an expert in that particular area for advice before I buy in a particular place. So I think a lot of it can go virtual for sure. I think EXP is onto something. One of the things that will definitely, where I see it going is a hybrid. Okay, so real estate offices are going to shrink. Okay, more and more services will become available to more and more people at home, and also realtors want to be around other realtors. Okay, we're social creatures. We don't want to hibernate, you know. So we get a lot of energy from each other. So I think there's a happy medium. To think that it's going to go virtual, I think, is absolutely incorrect. To think that it's going to stay the way it is, for sure, we know that's not true. So in the middle.
Yeah, in the middle. You know, sometimes I think it's probably more about price too, right? Like there are probably some prices. You know, we talked a lot about it over the last couple of months in some of the news, and like the vision of like Zillow and some of these companies is that somebody could log on and make a transaction happen just like they can buy a stock. Right? Like it used to be to buy a stock, you had to go through all these hoops, and now you can go on to TD Ameritrade and buy a stock and you own it a few minutes later. And I'm actually of the belief that it can happen with some real estate assets but it's also would also be risky, right? But you're like, oh, I'm saving $7,000 in commissions. Maybe I'm going to save seven in the other part. But I feel like there's going to be different asset levels. Like, oh, maybe price is up to this, but at the same time, somebody buying $1 million house for their dream house, they care as much about that as somebody else buying their $200,000 house as their dream house, right? It's still an emotional experience.
Absolutely.
So what do you think price is going to make a difference as that hybrid happens, or you think it's still, what do you think?
I don't think price will make a difference. You give a great example, and that's the stock market. A share of Apple stock is a share of Apple stock is a share of Apple stock. If I can go on and efficiently buy that, great. I've been burned by advice from financial advisors 1,000 times. Also, you don't live inside of that Apple stock. Okay. So the $200,000 home, somebody wants to make sure that's the right place for them. I'll tell you where I think it does, where it can get a little bit more homogenous is when the housing stock is very, very, very similar. Okay. So when you're in a neighborhood where there's 1,000 homes and they're all nearly identical, then, okay, hey, I'm going to go look at one of them. And then it doesn't matter which one I buy or it matters a lot less. That's where the stock, where the housing stock, the product is starting to get homogenous. That's where it doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, there are different neighborhoods that we're actually selling some houses in right now, and there's 4 of the same floor plan on the market.
Yes.
Right. And so that is probably something where somebody would, could save their time by just jumping through the virtual experience and going, hey, what's the difference? This one is $5,000 less. They look at the pictures. All right. I can always paint or whatever. So yeah, I think that where there's a lot of stuff in the same neighborhood, same thing when we started flipping too. The safest way to do it was in a new home community where there were a ton of houses that were all around the same size, because it'd be very easy to see what it's going to be worth. So maybe that's part of that where it happens. So if you were going to give a new agent advice that's worried, like, hey, am I going to lose my job out there to technology, or what's that? Do you have any ideas? The best way for them to come into that hybrid?
I don't think they'll lose their job to technology ever. I think it's definitely smart to understand the technology. One of the things we do on Real Estate Rockstars is ask these top agents, hey, what's the piece of technology that's helping you the most? If, these different companies, all, brand neutral, different companies that are offering fabulous technology, you'll see when people use it. Okay. If it's solving a problem, they're using it. Otherwise they're not. So my advice is be abreast of the technology, make sure you know how to use it. It will save time, and be a great realtor. Understand your market like the back of your hand. And the best way to do it is you got to go out and see all the houses. So it's still it's what I just consider it's a personal business.
Yeah, it really is a personal business. I talked again about, we went and looked at some houses last weekend, and I texted a buddy of mine who's our agent, and I'm like, hey, you think you can show us some houses tomorrow? Right. And it's like, yeah, I can get you in 3 of those 4 houses tomorrow. Right. So because he loves us, because it's there, he's going to end up getting that commission when we go do it. Cause he's the hustler. It's personal. He's going to take us through there. He knows my kids. It's a fun experience when we do it, and it's easier to get them in there. So I think, and I'm a guy that buys a lot of houses using kind of technology, and I bid at auction. But when it comes to what I'm going to do for me, I'm going to go see the house myself. I'm going to have an agent represent me, even though most of the time I buy without an agent. And I'm probably a good example that says the good realtors are going to stay needed. So last thing, kind of interesting news, but I think it's actually really, really important news I wanted us to talk about today was it's an article about It's Simply Theft. Developer balks as support surges for squatters living in his empty home since November. And, I remember reading this back in November. This is a 3-bedroom house in Oakland, California, but I actually think it's happening in several places right now. So there are vacant houses in different places. People buy houses, they list it. We have a lot of houses active for rent right now. Right? We're waiting for a renter to come in and say, we want to rent there, get approved. So for all sorts of reasons, people that invest in real estate, a lot of our listeners are investors, are becoming investors. So you've got a house out there, that's an investment. And so what happened out in the Bay Area, So 2 homeless women have been illegally living in a vacant 3-bedroom home in Oakland since November. And so they decided to move into this house. It was cold outside. They said, hey, nobody's living here. It's a crisis. We're just going to go ahead and move right in. And so obviously that's a big deal. Somebody said, hey, this vacant house is there. I want to move in. It's owned by an investment company called Wedgwood. Wedgwood buys houses, fixes them and sells them, fixes them, rent them. They're a big, big company. So that but I personally think that doesn't give someone the right to just move in. The craziest part about the news is there's like politicians that are actually backing them up. It says, as the collective grew, several politicians have spoken out in support of the 2. Now, I want to thank Moms for Housing for taking that house and for demonstrating that nowhere should be there a vacant house in California. To me, this is crazy. Yeah, I'm just supposed to be sharing the news, but there's actually politicians out there and people say, no, there shouldn't be a vacant house. People should be able to move into them whenever they want if there's homeless people out there. And so what do you think of that? Did you read this and what first comes to mind as a realtor, as a real estate agent, as an investor, all that stuff?
What comes to mind is, I wish you hadn't brought this up because, all of my friends that don't live in California make terrible fun of me, for living in a state that has politicians that think that, squatters should come in and take over apartment buildings. I mean, look, here's the deal. We have a very significant homeless problem. There's no question about that. Our society must address that. Our politicians must address that. We as people, volunteers, need to address that. It's a real problem. And as soon as I'm getting done addressing that, I will tell you for sure, the solution is not allowing people to break the law and vacate, and occupy a vacant home. I understand what people are saying. It's like, oh, well, why should there be empty houses when there's also homeless? Well, how many people own a second home? Maybe we should make it illegal to have a second home. Now you're talking about moving into a socialist economy. I mean, there has to be a balance, right? And I really do think we've got to help people so that they're not homeless. No question about it. This is not the help.
Yeah, it's not, I saw you recently went to Cuba. I went to Cuba a year ago, and I remember when I was there, our guide said, no, everyone has a home. Everyone is given a home. No one is homeless, but half the homes don't have walls and they don't have doors and so it's like nobody's homeless, but it's that. So I definitely becomes, where is the line that you draw for that? Yeah. I actually, I think it's like something like 25% of the homeless people in the US are in California. There are a lot of vacant houses in California that are.
It's nice out here.
Yeah, it's nice out there. If you're going to be homeless anywhere, you're going to go where the weather is better. You're not going to go where it's crazy. That's a really easy decision. But I think California may be the ones that can find the solution to it, because there probably is a good example of, here's a bunch of vacant housing that's not getting used. Here's a bunch of people that need housing, but the whole committing a crime and getting it for free. I mean, there's a solution out there somewhere that smart minds can find and figure out. But yes, I'm baffled by the idea that as this is going through the court system, but I also think it is important to watch. I think the reason it comes on here is, it's news that makes us jump and say, hey, that's crazy. But the reality is it's happening, and it could end up setting some crazy precedents out there. So as real estate agents, as real estate investors, pay attention to this. We're going to have more news on it over the next few weeks and few months as it goes. And we'll make sure to get some updates, but also, come find us and chat with us about it. I want to know what you guys think. We're getting ready to come to a close on today's news. But I wanted to say, like, if you haven't yet, you got to go find Real Estate Rockstars on Instagram. Go find me on Instagram. So it's Aaron Amuchastegui. It's AARONAMU. As soon as you type that, it's going to find me because my name is crazy on there. I love resharing some of the best stuff we get from the host. Paul, what's your Instagram handle? I've seen you on there.
It's Paul Mark, M-A-R-K, Morris, M-O-R-R-I-S. So it's just at Paul Mark Morris on Instagram. It's the same for Facebook. And I'm getting my Instagram and reorienting it toward a lot of this valuable information for realtors. Just one last piece on what you were saying, and that's just like, as an investor or even a homeowner, when you start allowing people to break the law and essentially injure the investor or injure the homeowner, you are adding some uncertainty into that puzzle that makes it more difficult for people that want to come into and invest in an area and improve an area. Okay. It's just like businesses move to where there's certainty and a favorable place to do business. And if you're going to let people squat in empty units, then the Wedgwoods of the world, they'll go, hey, you know what, we're going to go and fix up apartment units somewhere else. So it's an important thing. It really is.
Yeah. A lot of people look at that and they go, hey, Wedgwood's a really big company, or they're the bad guy or whatever. But you got to remember back in 2012, 2013, when Blackstone and Wedgwood and American Homes for Rent, all those companies came into California and started buying, man, it pushed our economy big time. Absolutely. It pushed our sales prices big time. It didn't ruin anything. It really helped a lot of stuff out there. And thank goodness it's not somebody's first investment. Right? Because people can also, laugh about it and look at it because, hey, it's a big company that has hundreds of houses. Yeah. It changes the whole game, right? Yes. It changes the whole market. People starting to get into the business, everything.
And when you want to move from being a realtor into an investor and you want to start building some wealth, which is one of the things that I've spent a lot of my career helping people to do. And when you want to move in that direction and you add uncertainty like that, it makes it a lot harder to do.
Changes everything, man.
Yep.
Paul, it was so fun getting to chat with you about the news. I think we'll end up doing it again here in a couple of weeks.
I love it.
And Rockstars, you're out there listening. If you have not subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe. Go check out some of our other stuff. And again, go follow us on Instagram and Facebook as we're kind of resharing some of the best tips and tricks. If you don't have enough time to listen to all of the podcasts, go find us on there. You'll see, the best tips coming out of the other ones so you can figure out which ones to listen to. If there's news you think we should be talking about or you've got comments about today, send me a message. I love to chat with you about it. If you disagree with me, tell me. I want to know. I want to know what else we should be thinking.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for having me on. Paul, what a fun time. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. And to echo that, we would love the feedback. So, if we can do more of something or less of something, we'd love to do it. Tell us we're doing a great job. Tell us we're doing a bad job. As Pat always says, feedback, breakfast of champions. Bring it on. We are absolutely committed to bringing the best programming that we can to Real Estate Rockstars. So thank you very much. This is a lot of fun. I know we'll do the news again together.
Awesome.
I want you to think about the word toolbox. What is a toolbox? A toolbox is a box full of tools that you use to build something great. At Real Estate Rockstars, we've created our own free toolbox. So everybody that comes on the show as a guest brings a tool with them, and we plow them all into this toolbox, then we give it away for our viewing audience to basically use as they wish. Everything we put in there is an actionable item that can be downloaded, can be printed, can be used immediately. And we got things like scripts and dialogues, checklists for teams, checklists to keep agents accountable, referral forms that are filled out at settlement to get referrals by your buyers and sellers. Everything you can think of that you could use on a regular basis about real estate is included in this toolbox. And it's helping agents worldwide sell more houses and make their jobs a lot easier and processes much more efficient. And the thing is, it's absolutely free. All you gotta do is go to hibandigital.com/toolbox or text the word toolbox to 444-999. That's toolbox 444-999. Do it now.
Rockstar Nation, thank you for listening to Real Estate Rockstars. Listen, I need a favor. If you find this free content helpful, if you find our downloadable items from each guest helpful, please, I need you to pull out your pointing finger. Yes, the one finger that points at people, and hit subscribe. Yes, subscribe. The more subscribers we get, the better we look in the ratings, and the easier it is to get guests like Robert Kiyosaki, Barbara Corcoran, all the players that are on $1 million listing in the different cities. All that stuff makes it easier the more subscribers we get, so please subscribe. And listen, there's a lot of places you can leave comments. There's a lot of places you can like. We're on Facebook. We have an Instagram page. Instagram page is I am Pat Hyben. The Facebook is Real Estate Rockstars Radio. video. Feel free to leave us comments there. The most popular form of commenting seems to happen on YouTube. Yes, for whatever reason, it's a very open environment. So just go to YouTube and go to Real Estate Rockstars Radio. Leave us comments there. Some of them we will read on the show. We love your feedback. So thanks, guys, and I hope you are having a great day. Oh, and also, listen, if you're going to subscribe and you haven't already left a review on iTunes, please do that too. Have a great day, and thanks so much, Rockstar Nation. I really appreciate you.